and a journey on the southwestern quadrant of the square. Got a whole one today, so I hope there's no fire drills. Also like to acknowledge that we're meeting on the traditional lands of the Kaurna people and that we extend our respects to their elders past, present and emerging.
Recording has started.
Recording has started. So welcome everyone to the Adelaide Microsoft IT Pro Community User Group / Meetup for February 2025. So I'd like to wish you all a happy Lunar New Year and such. Year of the Snake 2025. And traditionally, it is Andrew Young and Adam Perera running this. Just saw Adam outside before, but Adam has returned to Microsoft, so he will not be co-running the user group for the time being. So for now, we've got the lovely Shehan Perera who will be co-running the user group with me. Sure. Can't see him on the camera, that's fine. Yeah. Oh, good. So in case you haven't met, yes, I'm Andrew Young. So modern work, security pre-sales at Ticket Data, also Microsoft MVP and security for Intune. Most of the socials, predominantly LinkedIn. Yeah, let Shehan do his bit.
Yes, so I'm also MVP in security, so Intune and Identity and Access Management are the categories. I'm from Bastion Technology Services, so working as an architect in identity and endpoints. And yeah, so that's my blog, emsroute.com, and I'm on LinkedIn as well. Yeah, so back to you.
Awesome. Yeah, so if you were here last month on our soft skills presentations masterclass, you would have got that little bit of early bird news about the changes behind the hosting here. Just quick thanks to the sponsors, so Microsoft, thank you for providing us with a venue. We are in a different room today, as usual. Let's say Systematic Consulting. Brett's still keeping our meetup group afloat. Dicker, occasionally we have some swag. I'm kind of low at the moment, so give it a few months and we will replenish our stocks. And I'll just plug myself there at the bottom. But yeah, some of the food, drinks and whatnot, that's on me. And the other new thing we also kind of teased last month was there is a new podcast and we have called it Out of Band. So if you have been working in the Windows or operating system, endpoint and server space, you know that there's updates every month, generally the second Tuesday for the US time zone. And those are in-band updates. So out-of-band is those emergency 0-day exploits that you want to patch out real quick. So that's kind of the idea behind the naming behind it. It's not a Microsoft podcast, but it's a podcast on Microsoft security. So we haven't been endorsed, we haven't been cease and desisted yet. So I think we're doing all right. So of course that is hosted by myself, Shehan, and lovely Anthony Porter from Perth. We had him on the user group back in October. So he's a cybersecurity architect at Canon Business Services ANZ. I don't know if he's on the call, I don't think he was, but yeah, check us out. The LinkedIn and YouTube and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, we're on most of those platforms, wherever you may follow. So yeah, give us a follow and like. Well, I'll jump real quick. So we'll go into the what's new section. So last month, it was a SharePoint event. And it's good when they call it just product name and an event. So they had the OneDrive event back in October, I believe. So SharePoint event had the father of SharePoint, Jeff Teeper, running that one. So there's a huge amount of stuff that's coming out for SharePoint Online, just from there's SharePoint agents to even just new web parts and the ability to manage sections now in SharePoint pages and news. So yeah, huge amount of resources. There is AMAs. There is a hackathon coming up in March. So if you head over to that microsite, have a look around, and yeah, if you're interested, join the hackathon. I believe it's around creating amazing looking pages in the intranet. So yeah. This is is a new one. So the Teams has a new calendar view. It looks like the new Outlook calendar. So yes, so very similar in the way it looks and some of the options as well, just to keep them all in line with the experience overall. Soon enough, we're moving away from not using Outlook and emails, right? So yeah, there's that, and that's following the previous change where chats and channels are now merged just on the chats. So it's a crazy time for Teams. Also, this one was end of last month, but yeah, the news around unlicensed users that had a OneDrive. Before you could retain that data for up to 10 years, and it was like, yay, free backup. So Microsoft wants to reclaim that free space that they're giving away now. So as of, I believe it was the 23rd or late last month, any users that have a OneDrive that no longer have a license assigned, they'll get 30 days of the free retention. And then after that, the content goes into archive state. So if you want to access that data, you need to be paying for M365 Archive to then be able to reseed that content. So it'll be then built through the consumption-based M365 Archive. And any of the other purview compliance policies, they'll be respected. So if you do need to reaccess or reseed that content, it'll still be compliant. So that's a fun one. This one, I don't think many people heard about. So Microsoft Stream is that kind of video recording platform in M365. Microsoft acquired Clipchamp. Now they're kind of merging the two together because it just makes more sense. One's a video editor, one's a video recording platform. And with the advances with Copilot, we've got video generation coming soon. So Clipchamp's going to be where all of that happens. I believe we've used Clipchat ourselves a few times, even for the videos here and for our podcast as well. It's a podcast, but keep my head around that. And the other news was their 4 Teams recordings. They're going to, obviously, they'll be recorded with Clipchat moving forward, but they're going to improve the encoding, so it's a smaller file. Because I found that if you do edit a file in Clipchat, somehow it blows up in size, even though it's a smaller file. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. It's teamwork, Copilot. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm that much of a fan of the new logo for the M365 app, but it is essentially the Copilot for M365 logo with M365 written on it. Yeah. And then we've got a new cloud.microsoft domain name for that as well. So m365.cloud.microsoft. M365 Copilot Chat. So this was previously known as Business Chat, previously known as, I don't know, they keep changing this, but the latest name, M365 Copilot Chat, that is what you get from Microsoft Copilot. It was Business Chat. This is the LLM back and forth experience. It's not the embedded experiences in your apps. And part of this announcement, pretty much, I think, signing in with your work account, you'll get redirected to this app. And then there's mentioned that you can just start accessing agents, but they're consumption-based. So you don't necessarily need a full M365 Copilot license to access this stuff, but costings in other places. So just be wary of that. There is a nice repo on GitHub around creating agents and other things in Copilot. So that the Copilot Developer Camp, check that one out. Heaps of resources, lots of videos on there to follow along with how to create these agents. And there's some more collateral infographics and so on. So this one's all around the first 5 or 6 weeks of getting Copilot for M365 and having these example prompts and other instructions to follow along. Just get adopt and get used to it. I won't go. That's all the Copilot I'll talk about. We'll leave the real Copilot stuff to Daniel on the call. So Exchange Server, if you're still running on-prem, wow. But yeah, Exchange Server 2019's just got its latest and probably the last cumulative update. So as written there, the last two will be supported on Windows Server 2025, which just came out. And they're going to block coexistence with the older Exchange 2013. I don't know why you'd still be running 2013 with 16.19, and now we've got subscription edition we can upgrade to. So if you're on 16 or 19, making sure you're in the right update there, you can do in-place upgrades, which is a bit scary. But otherwise, you can do the traditional migration upgrade path and so on. So yeah, all in all, I think Exchange Online is probably the better path to go, but there are obviously places that have regulations and so on, so they're not allowed to use public or government cloud yet. Windows, we have a new series of webinars coming out just on the value of Windows Enterprise. Windows 11 24H2 is out broadly now, so I believe this had a few issues initially, but most of them are fixed now. So, which means 22H2 is now out of support. So make sure you update to at least something in 23. There are some skilling snacks as well, some more videos just around Windows IT pros. This user group was traditionally for. And also there are going to be quality updates available during the out-of-box experience. So when you've got a new PC or laptop, turn it on, connect to the internet, it'll actually download these security updates for you. So it won't just wait till it sets up all the bloat and then gets into the desktop and then check for updates and so on. So you get that at the start so that you're secure from the get-go. And what's coming out as support is Windows 10 in October, I believe it was 15th. Thus all the talk about Windows 11, making sure that you've got a plan at least in place. So upgrading, replacing your device fleets, using Intune, pushing out feature updates, or autopilot and provisioning new devices. Along with that, good old Office desktop apps for 16 and 19 are going. Exchange 1619, we just talked about upgrade paths, so there's your options there. And I don't know if anyone's still using Skype for Business Server, but they're also going as well. So Teams is superior, just saying. All right, this is not new, but it's security training. So it's the ninja training across all of Microsoft's security products. So Defender for X and so on. Those are essentially tech community blog posts with all of the resources, and then there's a forms quiz. It's free, it's untimed. If you get a certain percentage out of that assessment, you'll get a shiny little certificate of participation or completion. And if you've done all that, there is a cloud native app protection policies ebook you can go through as well. I'll probably update this list at some point when there's new stuff.
Yeah, so in JavaScript.
Yeah. Microsoft Learn, my favorite. So there is a new certification coming, Information Security Administrator, with a new exam, SC401, administering information security in M365. So the previous certification was the Information Protection Administrator, I believe, and that was the SC400. So it's compliance, information protection, DLP, e-discovery, auditing, and all that stuff. Essentially what they're doing is they're taking out the compliance components of this exam and they're leaving in all the information protection and so on. So what they're doing with the compliance content is they're moving it into applied skills. So applied skills being the 2-hour assessments where you work in a virtual environment. So some of those pieces there around communication compliance, that doesn't have compliance in the name, but essentially those two applied skills covers whatever they're taking out of the exam. So just be aware of that. If you haven't taken an exam since last year, they did reduce the price slightly for us in Australia, 15 US. So it's something. So previously there was a DP600 freebie from the Fabric community. So DP700 is going to be 50% off. So I forget what that one stands for, but it's startup platform, fabric related. If you consume or watch all the videos, I think they're running them out of the Microsoft Reactor. There's one on about an hour ago. But yeah, if you consume all that content and request a coupon, they'll give one to you. And the usual resources, Expert Zone, there's Level Up CSP, and Microsoft Student Accelerator, ANZ online meetups. So that ties into the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador program. So these are kind of like our little call them cousins, because we're in the MVP program. These student ambassadors are kind of in that same space, but they're still students studying in higher education, TAFE, uni, and so on. So they can come out and join a Discord server. So there's things they can do. So getting out in the community, presenting things, doing kind of what we do. And if you progress along the way there, it's an early shoe in the door to become an MVP as well. So these guys get swag. We don't get swag, just saying. And yes, the accelerator is run by Michelle Sanford. And she's Perth-based, but they have been doing these meetups in Melbourne, Perth, Sydney, New Zealand as well. Apparently did one back in Adelaide a long time ago. I considered trying to get one happening last year, but we'll try again this year and get some students involved, because we tend to get a lot of students coming along to user groups who are either midway or finishing their degrees, and it's kind of a here's this by the way, but getting them in earlier on in that that degree or certificate, it's probably a good time. And quick whip around the other user groups. So we've got Copilot, M365, Power BI Fabric, Azure, .NET, Data Analytics. We've toyed the idea of getting a security user group up and running. Nobody's really putting their hand up. I'm not too fussed. Running one's hard enough, so Daniel running two is a bit of a chore. But yeah, it's for the tech community. And more importantly, the Adelaide Microsoft community. All right, and events, there's a lot. I'm probably not going to go through all of them. Yeah, so some virtual Power Platform and Power BI related content. There's a Power Platform tour apparently in Sydney. Ticker's got some events in March. There's a digital workplace conference in New Zealand. Shehan and myself will be at the MVP Global Summit, and there's going to be some more online stuff as well, followed by some in-person events in Vegas and Seattle. And that Global AI Community Bootcamp. So yeah, I've actually attended that before, but I think there's multiple hubs around the world where they actually got speakers and content going. I believe the AI tour in December just passed was somehow related to this, because we had attendance digital badges handed out by the global AI community. So yeah, have a sus. These will all be sent out in the show notes afterwards, so don't panic. And for us, what's coming, not too certain just yet. We'll get to finalize this to you, but you got a burning desire to present or request a topic, feel free to use that QR code and fill out the form. At this stage, yeah, we're pretty flexible for content, so yeah, not too desperate or anything. All right, well, I guess now I'll hand over to Shehan, because he'll be delivering today's topic.
Yeah.
You can do that.
Yeah, thank you. All right, thank you, Andrew, and thank you, everyone. As Andrew mentioned, I'm Shehan. Just a little bit about myself. So I'm a Microsoft MVP, as I mentioned earlier, security, in security, Intune, and identity access management, working at Bastion as an architect at the moment. And I'm one of the official contributors in the modern endpoint management LinkedIn group as well. So where to find me? I got a blog called emsroute.com, where I usually write about Defender, Entra, and identity stuff, Intune stuff, basically. So EMS, enterprise, mobility, and security. I'm on LinkedIn. I got a couple of videos in YouTube, in my YouTube channel, and in X and Blue Sky as well. So I think I mentioned this in my last session as well. So so this is the version 3 of the IntuneMaps.com, which I created a couple of years ago. So it's basically, rather than going through the Learn documents, if you go here and if you want to find something, it will direct you to the correct Learn page rather than getting lost in the Learn pages, because there's always lots. When you go there, easily can get lost or easily can change the tangent. So so this is basically everything related to the Windows platform, Microsoft, in Intune. So I thought this would be useful for the tech community if someone is starting out or if someone wants to go find more information. So version 3 includes the autopilot version 2, for an example, which are newly added last year, and some other stuff as well, like enrollment time grouping for autopilot, and the properties catalog, where they recently added where you can check the device information in real time by querying the devices using KQL. So yeah, so I thought maybe that would be useful to have everything in this website. So a bit about Copilot in Intune as well. Yeah, so have a look at it, intunemaps.com. So this is my presentation today, proactive threat prevention. So a bit about the photo or the graphic on the left-hand side. If you're familiar about Star Wars Clone Wars, so that's the Bad Batch. So they are pretty much coming into the scene, do the reducing the threats before the clones coming into the scene and fight the bad guys. So I thought maybe that's kind of relevant to this topic. So proactive threat prevention with Defender attack surface reduction rules, so ASR rules in short. So that's what I'm going to present on today. What I'm discussing, so what are ASR rules and why ASR rule? And rule sets, basically what are the rule modes and the rule categorization, because there are lots of rules that talks to different parts of the operating systems. Why ASR rule matter? Basically, why do you need to use apart from your other threat prevention methods? And also what ASR is not. Also, the 4 stages of rule operationalization. So that's the most important one, I would say, because you can't just, it's not overnight activation of the rules. So what sort of things that you need to do to get them in the block mode, and some few tips. So kind of, this is sort of a short sort of a presentation with some technical information about the ASR. So again, coming to the first one, what are ASR rules and why ASR rules? So attack surface reduction rules are basically a component in an EDR or an XDR solution. Usually that kicks in before the antivirus or threat detection. So there are some rules that working on the operating system that for in this example, Defender or Microsoft have identified threat actors can easily exploit on an operating system. So the rules are working on those locations in the operating system and basically act and block whatever the stuff that's happening from the bad actors. So it's when it's enabled, usually it works with intelligently with other services like Cloud App Protection, for an example. It's not, so you can't basically use ASR rules to block applications, but it will intelligently work with the reputation of the applications and just block them and there and activities of the applications. Ransomware and malware and phishing payloads that can be blocked by using these rules. And also, it's not altering the OS or registry or anything like that. So it's just working intelligently on top of the operating system, but looking at the operating system locations. So why you need ASR rules or attack surface reduction rules? So pretty much this prevents exploits at the entry point. For an example, macros, PDF child processors. I think we are all familiar with the whole invoice.pdf files that you used to get in the emails. And probably it has got a link if someone clicks on that, it will do something that probably from the back end. So those sort of things can be intelligently identified by the ASR and can be stopped then and there. And there can be situations where the threat detection might kick in later, or the antivirus might miss some attacks. So because ASR works in the entry point, it can stop all those stuff. And also, there can be scripts, unsigned scripts or unsigned applications and other processors as well. So that limits it stops those unnecessary activities on an operating system. So that's pretty much why you need ASR if you have a XDR or EDR product like Defender. So this is the rule set. There are, I think, 19 rules at the moment. 2 are in preview. I'm not going to go all those rules one by one, but as you can see, everything is just set to block. So block, for an example, untrusted or unsigned processors that runs from a USB, for an example, and also Win32 API calls from Office macros. So macros can run, but if it's making any other calls to any other system, so that can be stopped, right? And also scripts as well, credential stealing from LSAS processors and things like that. So that those things can be intelligently identified and stopped. So where to find these policies? So this is just one place that you can find. This is the Intune interface. So if you go to the security, endpoint security, under attack surface reduction rules, you can create rules over there. And you can set them into different modes, which I'm going to talk in a bit, and assign your devices, target your devices accordingly. So for every rule, there are a couple of modes that you can use. So not configured, pretty much not configured. As you know, block is the one which is enforcing the rule. So the rule is enabled in that case. So the status code that you can see on the right-hand side is, if you're using group policies, that's the status code that you need to use. Audit is the one that we need in the first place before we setting into the block mode. So it's pretty much rules are in the evaluation mode, so no effect to the user, but you can see all the reports on those rules, what's happening, what's being blocked, ideally. Warn, some rules are supporting the warn mode. So when it's enabled, this gives a notification to the user. User can unblock or bypass, and it will be valid for 24 hours before it getting blocked again. So these are the standard modes for any rule that's used in the attack surface reduction rules.
What's the typical, if I may jump in?
Yeah, sure.
What's the typical order if you auto deployed it?
Yeah, I'm going to come to that in a bit, but ideally, always best to start from the audit mode. Yep. So in that way, you know, or before you enabling it, what would be the impact if you enable them. Yep. So all those 19 rules that we saw earlier, I would like to categorize them like this. So application and process control, some of the policy or some of the rules are just directly talking to applications and process control stuff. Credential and credential theft protection. So as I mentioned, LSAS sort of rules. Execution and code protection, so JavaScript, VBScript, launching downloaded executable content and things like that. And also, it's pretty much connected to the scripts, and also any executable content that runs out from email clients or webmail. So those things can be prevented as well. And also persistence and lateral movement prevention. So they are all attack tactics. So those things can be blocked by using attack surface reduction rules. And also, this is something new which came a couple of months ago, I think. You can block rebooting the machine in the safe mode as well. So if attacker get hold onto the machine somehow, if the safe mode is blocked, so they can't basically log into the safe mode and do all the other stuff that they want to perform. and ransomware and integrity protection as well. So when they are enabled, it will just look at those locations, identify them intelligently, and block threats against ransomware system integrity protection. So again, why they come into the scenes, right? So I like to paint this with an example. Most of the organizations would still have legacy applications, and legacy applications would have different requirements, right? In this example, maybe this finance application is spitting out an Excel file which has macros. And this Excel file is again maybe on a XLS file, so like it's not modern, it's legacy. So in that way, maybe you have your Office Trust Center settings to block legacy formats. If not, you may have some exemptions saying, okay, don't block because we need these applications to spit out these Excel files with macros, and they are on the legacy sort of formats. Or maybe you don't have anything on the app control, in-app control at the moment. So if you have a situation like this, then you can easily combine ASR rules with that. So in that case, yes, the application would still allow to spit out files with legacy formats and probably got macros, but they are blocked creating child processes, or they can't call into other access files and things like that by using Winter2 API calls. So that can be blocked. So they are proactively, so that's proactive prevention. So you still have your applications and you can talk with the vendors to get them modernized so they will not do legacy file formats, but you can keep this as a safeguarding method if the application is not supporting modern stuff. So that's just one example why you need ASR rules. So the other one, so LSAS, so that's local security authority subsystem. So that's the process which handles tokens, secrets, hashed passwords, and pretty much the authentication side of things in the operating system, Windows operating system. So if an attacker uses a tool like Mimikatz or something like that, they can easily dump the passwords, they can dump the credentials, and that can be used to elevate access and then lateral movement to gain access to domain controls and things like that. So if you don't have, let's say, if you don't have ASR rules set up, this can be probably a reactive action where the lateral movement detection is there in your, it's popping up in your XDR in Defender, and then it will start working on those accounts and what happened. So in that way, it's more reactive, but it will still be helpful to understand what's going on in your system. But if you have the ASR rules created, and if you have the LSAS memory block for untrusted processes, so that's pretty much a proactive action. So it complements what you already have in the XDR threat detection. So this then and there will stop the access to the LSAS memory, and pretty much they can't do anything from that point onwards. But if you have enabled this rule, you might see a lot of noise in your reporting as well, because there can be lots of legitimate applications that are accessing the LSAS memory. So it's pretty much tuning the reports, or what you call the incidents and the alerts that you get, and then you can probably find out what's the actual untrusted process that's been accessed to the LSAS memory. So that's again another example of why you need ASR rules. So as I mentioned in my first slide, so what ASR is not. So it's not a traditional antivirus. So it does not scan for malware or signatures or prevent executions that an antivirus would do. And also, it's not a replacement for your EDR or SIEM, but it's a component of an EDR XDR system. And probably those logs can be moved on to a stream to a seam as well. It's not a generic application blocker, but what it does is basically it identifies the risky behaviors of the applications and then blocks if you have the rule to block. And also not a remediation tool as well. The last one is the most important, I would say, not a set and forget feature. So you set it, I have seen sometimes it's on the test mode for a long time and they forget it. Or it's in the test mode and they will say, okay, we will move it to the block mode later, but it will never come, something like that. So, and also even in the block mode, you might see some disruptions, so you might not. If you see them, you need to fine tune those policies, set exclusions and things like that.
Where do you do the monitoring? Is that within Intune or is that on the device? Or
Yes, so yeah, that's it's one of the slides coming.
Sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, to answer your question, so that's the Defender portal itself.
Okay.
In Defender reporting. Yeah. All right, so 4 stages of policy operationalization. So that's, I think, most important. As you saw earlier, there are 19 rules that you need to enable. Each one, talks to a separate different location in the operating system. So, and also there can be a lot of disruptions as well from the users, applications. So you need to understand all those stuff before you actually set them to block mode. So plan, test, enable, operationalization. So that's the Microsoft. That's what Microsoft have recommended as well. So it's pretty much planning is finding out your software. So you don't need to understand all the applications that's running in your business, but maybe if you take a business, probably a department or a set of users, maybe your champions or say the pilot. So understanding what are the applications that they're running, if the applications are communicating with other applications in some way, how they are communicating, what sort of are they making API calls or scripts or things like that. Any shared folders that they're using, any scripts maybe running from the backend, in-house applications can use scripts and things like that. Office macros, very important. Finance department can have more than, I don't know how many macros these days. They are still running, even though we still want to, I think that one of the things it's really hard to get rid of. So Office macros comes into the scene, and any other affected, any other components like processors, anything like that, any services that's running on servers, devices for some reason. So that should be a component in the planning to identify these stuff. As I said, the rules are talking to different locations in the operating system. If you're a larger environment, larger organization, you can determine the deployment rings as well, like how you do in Windows Update for Business. Identify your test pilots, probably broad as well. So then you can just push the policies accordingly, the rules. So some prereqs and platforms to use. So starting with the prereqs, it should be Windows Enterprise or later. Defender should be the sole antivirus in the device, in the endpoint. The device should be onboarded and in active mode in Defender. There's a feature called real-time protection enabled. The protection that should be enabled. So if you are in Intune, you have the option of setting up that policy by using Intune, the group policies as well. And you should have the Defender for Endpoint Plan 1 or Plan 2. If you have 365 E5, that comes with Plan 2. So that gives you more insights in the reporting for ASR rules. Yep.
P1 doesn't have EDR, so what?
Sorry, come again?
So Defender the Endpoint Plan 1 doesn't include the EDR component. How does that integrate with, I guess, the ASR?
It's still, so you can still configure those policies in Intune. So, but I think that part of the reporting is still showing up in the reporting. Yeah.
So that'd be more the antivirus.
Yes.
Enhanced
Yeah.
antivirus.
Yeah. But all the documents, even I saw in in the documents it says ASR applies to P1 and P2 both. But definitely the device should be onboarded into Defender. So where do you configure ASR rules? So Intune Defender itself, Defender has got the security configuration management pane at the moment, so you can use that. Even if you create an Intune, it will still correspond. It will still reflect those settings in the Defender security configuration management as well. Good old PowerShell, you can use that. Config Manager, SCCM can be used, or group policy as well. So Microsoft Intune has got the inbuilt policy, or still you can use your OMA URIs where you usually use in any MDM. It's like a different policy, but it will still talk to the same location. So if you have Intune or any other MDM, you can still use those sets of policies called OMA URIs to create those ASR rules. So what are the platforms? As I mentioned, 10 up to server asset, so 2025 as well. So it's good news because it's rolling out in the next several weeks. So that's available as well. So you can onboard 2025 servers into Defender Endpoint as well, which is good. So a bit of a quick win in the planning stage. So there are 3 rules, or what they call the standard rules, can be enabled in the planning stage itself, because they are pretty much corresponding to fileless attacks. So enabling these in the block mode would not affect the productivity of the users or will not disrupt anything. So as I mentioned, credential stealing from LSAS, so that can be enabled, and also the second one, the block abuse of exploited vulnerable sign drivers. So because drivers has got the access to the Windows kernel, if the driver is basically vulnerable already, so that can be used to manipulate the kernel and start troubling from there. And also block persistence with WMI event subscription as well. So WMI event subscription can be used, is using in the Windows system to run automated actions here and there. It's one of the important components. So bad actor can use persistence. So it's basically persistence is maintaining access to a vulnerable system, another attack tactic. So they can manipulate WMI events subscription to do different rules or different automations at times. And that can basically harm or can damage the operating system, and also it can be a threat as well. So those are fileless attacks. So it can be blocked from then and there if you have these 3 rules enabled in the planning stage. So now we are in the test. So I think this answers your question, Manoj. When you're done the planning, when you understand who are your users and applications and everything, set them up in the audit mode. So it's basically harmless. It will give you the information that you need. The output will be pretty much what got blocked, basically if it's in the block mode, and what has happened, and what sort of alerts you get, you can familiarize yourself with. And then you can understand, what sort of exclusions that you need to create when everything is in the block mode. So, and also monitoring, continuous monitoring would help you to, get to the block mode as well. So Microsoft recommends to keep in the audit mode for 30 days, but I have seen, as I said, it goes for more than 30 days until they get comfortable with the rules and the exclusions. So they will keep for more than 30 days, but recommendation is for 30 days. And then you can set the stuff for block mode. So to answer your question, so this is from the Defender portal itself. Not sure whether it's clear, but it's basically saying, so in the block mode, what has happened according to the dates, it says the computer if the computer is in a device group. In Defender, it shows the device group as well, and what's the file that got affected. So in this case, the svc host.exe is trying to do some credential stealing. So maybe this is a legitimate one, because svc host is it's a normal service that's running in the device. So, but everything is capturing here, so you can understand whether you need to do an exclusion or not.
So I guess you could do some evaluation by running a test.
Yeah. So I think probably 30 days would give you a good chunk of information. So this is again some information about the block. So as you can see, so this is when it's in the block mode, but this will be the same if you are in the audit mode as well. So it will give you a good understanding of what's being blocked, what are the detections that was not blocked, and everything. And according to the rule, what has happened and everything. So you get a good. Actually, the reports has got the Defender reporting for ASR would have like a good view of what's going on with ASR. So some rule exclusions. At the moment, earlier this was not there, but it's now been added. So it's a per rule exclusion. So per rule exclusions has been added into every rule in ASR. So that means if you have, uncleared or something like scripts which are not signed, for example, if you set it to block, you can still set some exclusions saying, all right, this file path, this script should not be blocked, something like that. So it can be a file path or a process path or a app path as well. So depending on that, you can create your exclusions. Some examples for exclusions, if you're using exclusions, ideally you need to. So as I mentioned earlier, there's SAS memory that results in a lot of noise in the reporting. So understanding what's legit and then set your exclusions accordingly. Fold exclusions to run an app. There can be legacy applications still that needs to be installed for some reason. So if those applications are not matching with the current Defender sort of threat detection sort of stuff, so then you need to create your exclusions. And also in-house applications that executing scripts or maybe talking to a different application. Maybe there can be macros that calls to Win32 APIs, file operations, process management and stuff. So that needs to be excluded as well. Tools like PSX, exec, and all that controls, local remote commands, and also any PowerShell scripts that have been blocked, mainly if they're not trusted or if they're not signed and stuff like that. So that can be exclusions as well. So once everything is ready, you can start moving them into the block mode. So ideally, setting to block mode is definitely monitoring the rule behavior from the point that you set them into block mode. And also, you may still need to create your exclusions or revert problematic rules back into audit mode until you find out a solution for that. So, but yes, so this will be basically moving everything into the block mode. So once everything is ready to go, and when you are in the block mode, again, it's understanding of what's going on. You might see some false positive, false negatives, review those exclusions as well to find out what would be the best way to go with that. And also, again, keeping up with the ASR rules reports, run them regularly to identify, as I showed earlier, what's been blocked, what's not blocked, and everything. And also advanced hunting for ASR rules as well. So I'll show some advanced hunting stuff in a sec. So this is straight from the Microsoft document. So ideally, this is what they say, how to address the false positives and negatives. Identify, classify the alerts first. and also review your remediation actions. If you have an action that's been set, maybe you have to change that so it will not be captured. And also review the exclusions as I mentioned. You can submit for analysis as well, and then Microsoft will give you a proper understanding of this threat if it's a yes or no sort of thing. And also review and adjust settings as well as you go for the ASR and specifically for ASR, but you can do the same sort of steps for any Defender policy. So if you log into a device like an endpoint, there are some events that's been created in the event viewer. So you can say when the events is changed from block mode, audit mode, and things like that. So according to the event ID, if you want to do that sort of a troubleshooting in the device, or you can use the advanced hunting in Defender itself, and you can create your custom detections if you want, notifications and things like that. But if you want to go further, deep dive in the KQL queries, so you can use those queries or come up with your queries as well. But ideally, it looks at the device events table in KQL.
What's that interface? Yeah, the command line interface, is that the local PowerShell or?
No, so that's basically that's advanced hunting in KQL.
Okay.
So that's if you go to the Defender portal under advanced hunting. So before I finish, so this is my last slide. A few tips. So don't take time to set to block mode. Do your test pilots, exclusions, and enable them as soon as possible. So that's important. So that means you are using the XDR, EDR capabilities fully, and the ASR rules will complement to what you have already as well. Continuous monitoring for impacts and disruptions is important, ideally from the audit mode, even in the block mode as well. Different policies. So this is important as well. Let's say if you have different requirements from different departments, you can create different policy sets and apply them into different device groups. So it doesn't have to be just one policy set for all the devices. And then you can create your exclusions accordingly. So that's important as well, rather than just exclude everything, exclude a folder for the whole business. But keep it a minimum, so management-wise, it will be easy for you. So KQL for the win, as I mentioned in my previous, so you can, identify the threats and everything. You can use KQL queries and go deeper into those stuff and create custom detections if you want to in the Defender portal. And also optimize the rules with exclusions if you need to. That will help the rules run smoothly and get the actual alerts, the legitimate alerts smoothly as well in the Defender portal. With that, thank you. You can scan the QR code if you want to. You can find me everywhere in the socials. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
With the attack surface reduction, does that also apply to VMs and servers in Azure?
Yes. Yeah. So if the device or if the endpoint is basically onboarded to Defender, then you can use, so it's servers or
also you extend to AVD or?
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
Because now AVD can be enrolled into Intune as well. So that's one option. You can push the policies from. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks, Shehan. And thanks to all for coming along this month. I'll get out the, placeholder events for the remaining sessions of the year, and maybe we can get people to register for those, and we'll update the events with the actual content and speakers leading up to the events. But yes, I don't actually know if that feedback links to works. I'll check with the guys if that's still valid. But yeah, anything you reach out to us, if you want to request topics, you want to present, or that is it. I don't think anything else. No. All right. What have you done?
It's your fault.
What did you do to the slide?
I just replaced Adam's, avatar.
All right. Well, yeah. Thanks for attending online, and see you next month.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please, bye.
Thanks, guys.
I think I'm out to sit for you next time.